Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out the long range and we're continuing our accuracy testing of the X95 rifle. This time around, instead of using match 77 grain or 60 grain, 62 grain, 69 grain ammunition, we're going to use ammunition less in weight. So we're in the 50 grain range. So we have 55 grain M193 ball. This is Taiwanese ammunition imported by Wolf, and it chronographs at about 3,200 feet per second out of a 20-inch barrel. It's sealed and crimped. By all means, it is M193 ball. And then we have some Black Hills ammunition. This is 52 grain match. And we're going to shoot some of this stuff out of it just to see how it fares with the lighter stuff. Now, the reason I'm using M193 ball is because that's probably the most common ammunition used in the United States. Federal produces it, and it winds up on the civilian market. Wolf imports it, and the stuff is extremely affordable. And this is the stuff that I primarily run. It's either the M855 ZQI or the Wolf Gold stuff because it's affordable and readily available. So how does the gun perform with military ammunition? And in this case, 52 grain match, just to give it a comparison to the heavier match ammunition that we shot. Now let me first of all tell you that I made one change to the gun since the last time you saw it. I have put a Midwest Industries quick detach rail on it. This rail, or I'm sorry, this mount I should say, sets a 1/4 of an inch taller than the previous mount that I had. And that's because I wasn't getting a proper eye relief. I was kind of squishing my face down. The X95's rail sits very close in line with the stock itself. And while that scope mount works great on an AR-15, which sets just a little bit higher, it doesn't work so great on the X95, so now it sets just a little bit taller, giving me a better cheek weld. I've also left the ring on the end of the barrel out of the gun. I've decided not to put it in. I see no reason to have it there. It doesn't seem to serve any practical purpose that I can find, so until I do find a purpose for it, I'm just going to leave it out of the rifle for now. Also, you'll notice I have Colt sitting next to me. This is my 6920 LE, and I've had this rifle for a while. You've seen it here on the channel before. I've done some pretty unspeakable things to this gun. It's a very good, reliable, and nice shooting little gun. And this is going to be my baseline. This is a rack grade M4, civilian version, of course, semi-automatic, but this is a fair comparison, in my opinion, to the X95. I'm not going to compare the X95's performance to a Noveske or a BCM with a free float barrel and a KMR rail. I don't think that's a fair comparison. I want to compare it to its peers in the military world, and of course the M4 would be that peer. And so let's just get right down to it. Let's see how the X95 performed. We conducted a couple of different tests. We continued with the 5-shot groups, and we have 3 different shooters out here this afternoon trying to, deal with the human factor a little bit. A lot of you guys commented like, well, how does it shoot out of a rest and, like a machine rest, like a ransom rest? Well, that doesn't mean much to me. Mechanical accuracy isn't a practical accuracy. How well does a gun work with the people shooting it is critical. So we tried 3 different shooters just to get a feel for how the gun performed in various shooters' hands. And one thing we did find is that performance was consistent between the 3 shooters. So let's talk about one thing that we did that was a little bit different than the last test. Did 15-shot groups, okay? And let me turn this around here because this is the way it was actually hanging down range. On top, we have a 15-shot M193 ball, the Wolf ammo from the X95, and then on the bottom, we have a 15-shot group from the Colt 6920. Now, both rifles are outfitted with scopes. On the X95, we have the same Night Force, which has a magnification of up to 10 power, and we were running it at 10 power. On the M4, we have a loophole, and this is the same scope that was on my H&K 762A1 LRP. I've since replaced it with a US Optics scope, so I have the loophole now on the M4, has a max setting, power setting of 9, and we were running at 9 power. So they're fairly evenly matched. So the bottom group, again, is by the M4, and center to center measures 2 3/4 inches. On the X95, it measures 3 1/4 inches, so there's a 3/4 of an inch difference between the 2 groups, again, 15-round groups. And one thing I want to point out as well is what we noticed with the X95 was that the first 5 rounds landed right here, very close to center, point of aim, and in like a 1.5 inch group, and then it slowly started to open up, and then the last 4 shots fired actually grouped right down here. So that may point to some issues with heat buildup in the gun, something like that. Maybe has to do with the shooter bearing down on it, but now that the barrel is not touching the front of the handguard, I can't really see that being much of a factor, but we did watch that happen. What caused it, I can't really say. The M4 had more consistent accuracy in terms that the group didn't really expand over time. And that's about all we can say with regards to the performance of the two guns with the M193 ball. A 3/4 of an inch difference, okay? With the Colt, we did some testing very similar to what I did previously with the X95. We fired 5-shot groups at 100 yards with the M193 ball, and this is what we saw in terms of performance. We have a 2-inch group, we have a 1 3/4 inch group here, and these are 5-shot groups. And then up top here we have a 2-inch group. Now this is a 4-shot group. We used 3 different shooters again, and one shot was shot over here at a target next to this one, and so it's only a 4-shot group. The 4th round landed about over here, so it opened up the group size probably to about 2 1/4 inches. So that's how the M4 performed. How did the X95 perform with the same ammunition at the same range? And to answer that question, I give you this. Okay, just make sure I get all my bullet weights in order here. Yep, 193 ball. The bottom target is 2 1/4 inches, 5-shot group. The next one is 3 1/2. Now there it is opening up again. Now it's one thing that we have seen with the X95. It seems to vary in consistency. You'll get a 1 1/4 inch group, then you'll get a 3-inch group. And we saw it play out again with 193 ball. So here we have a 3 1/2 inch group. And then on top we have another 2-inch group. And again, that was using the X95 and 193 ball. Now with the 52 grain ammunition, which it seems to like, we did notice with the 52 grain match, there was more consistency in the performance of the rifle. And a little bit better performance, so it actually liked the lighter weight bullet. Again, we had 3 different shooters, and yep, this is a 52 grain stuff out of the X95. Down below, we have a 2 3/8 inch of a group, 5-shot group, 100 yards. Here we have a 2 1/2 inch group, and then a 2 1/4 inch group. All right. Now we will also say, just like with the 77 grain match or the 69 grain match, I can't recall which it was, but we saw one group in the previous testing with the heavier weight bullets that shot an exceptionally well group, and that happened with the 52 grain stuff as well. Here's a 5-shot group fired 100 yards with the Black Hills 52 grain bullet, and this group measures 1 1/4 inches, pretty much the exact same group size that we saw with the heavier match ammunition out of the X95 in the previous tests. So all things considered, how does the X95 stack up to its peer, the M4? It's fairly evenly matched. Yes, the M4 is slightly more accurate. We can just look at this group, or this set of groups, as evidence of that. Here we have about a 3/4 of an inch accuracy difference between the X95 and the M4. If we take a look at the other groups that they printed, the M4 seemed to consistently put down slightly smaller groups, never really going over 2 inches. And the X95, with the same M193 ball, did a couple of 2-inch groups, then a 3-inch group, 3 1/2 inch group. So yes, the X95 is slightly less accurate than the M4, but overall, is there a vast accuracy difference between the two rifles? I'm going to go ahead and say no. For a combat service rifle, I think what we're seeing out of the X95 certainly falls within the realm of acceptability with regards to the U.S. military. We're sticking, at its worst case, around 3 MOA. Best case with M193 ball is about 2 inches. So it's not doing horribly. So I don't really have a concern with the accuracy of the gun. Now, if I can criticize the X95 in terms of its performance in any way, it's the inconsistency. We'll see a 2-inch group, then we'll see a 3-inch group, then we'll see a 2-inch group, then we'll see a 3-inch group. Now, that's not uncommon for rifles to do, and some of that may have to do with the shooter as well. But the M4 seemed to be a little bit more consistent. Now, let's talk about ergonomics, okay? It does play a role in how well a gun shoots, how it interfaces with its shooter. The M4 for me is a rifle I've been shooting for 30-some years. I have a lot of experience with the rifle, and when I sit down to shoot it, it just feels comfortable. And I think everybody here that was shooting the guns today would agree that the M4 is just an easier gun to shoot. It's more ergonomic. It's more shooter-friendly. And that's probably because, again, of our experiences over the years with the rifle. This is America's rifle. With the bullpup, not so much. The ergonomics, in my opinion, they're an acquired taste, to say the least. It's ergonomically awkward to a lot of people. Even myself, I've been shooting bullpups for a couple of years now, pretty heavily, and I still find myself favoring the ergonomics of the M4. It just, again, feels more comfortable to me. So, does that play a role in the accuracy? Absolutely, it can play a role. In terms of the mechanical accuracy of the two rifles, I would say that the M4 is only slightly more accurate than the X95. I don't think there's a big discrepancy between the two in terms of the performance. Now, if you guys are shooting your X95s out there, I would really like to hear from you. I'd like to hear how your rifle is shooting for you and what ammunition that you're using. And you can do that in the comment section down below. After I post a video, I will stick around for the first couple of days and answer questions you have, but also read comments that you guys post. And I want to hear from you X95 owners. I've been keeping my finger on the pulse of the YouTube community and the blogosphere, trying to see what other people are experiencing with their X95s, and from what I can tell so far, my experience with the X95 is pretty much universal. That's everybody's talking about 2-3 inch groups with their guns, so I don't feel that my rifle is an exception by any means. I think it's pretty standard, and the performance seems to be fairly consistent. My overall assessment of the rifle is that it meets military standards. It's well within military standards, at least U.S. military standards, and obviously IDF standards because they're issuing the gun. So I'm not too concerned about that. The horizontal stringing and stuff, we didn't see a whole lot of that this afternoon, but we did see inconsistencies where the group sizes did open up. Again, let me know if you're seeing similar performance out of your X95s. If you guys would like to support the Military Arms channel, you can do that by shopping at Copper Custom. It's our online store. It really does help out when you shop there. And I'll put the little link down in a little lower third right there for you guys to see. And if you haven't already, please check out full30.com. That's full30.com. We've taken all of YouTube's best firearms content creators and brought them under one roof, and that is full30.com. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and we'll talk to you guys soon.